Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, brought to you by me, Mal McCallion, and my good friend and co-host, Matt Goddard. Matt, how are you this week?
I'm exhausted. What a week it's been, Malcolm.
My days has it been the week. So we have got so much to get through, most of it involving brand new models from the Frontier Labs. But we will get on to that shortly. First up, though, we must get through our property news. All right, so relatively thin gruel, I think it's fair to say, on the property side. A story did drop today, though. This is Tuesday, the 25th of November, about a familiar story, I think, to be fair, and a sad one, which is that Purplebricks is laying off some more people. This is perhaps a drumbeat that we've heard probably since about 2018, 2019, something like that, in various guises. And, I think it can be summed up in kind of one sentence, which is that basically cheap estate agency doesn't work. And what happens is you end up kind of keep iterating very tiny things about your model, but it just doesn't work, and you have to keep on kind of trying to kind of change people's jobs and move people around and all that sort of stuff. So look, it's a colossal shame for everybody involved who's under this particular moment. But yeah, Matt, I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
Well, it's been a death spiral for a while, hasn't it? And really, Purplebricks, as we knew before, went effectively out of business before being picked up by strike, right? And I guess the real shame, but I suppose expectation at this stage was that this is effectively strike going into that sort of spiral as well now, right? And that's what these redundancies are. There's obviously some positives in there. I think Ed Mead and the people over at Viewber seem to be picking up some of the work, so it's like a nod towards those companies who offer those outsourced solutions. And we know there's a lot of successful companies in our industry who can provide that support, but it's obviously sad timing, and it's quite a significant volume, isn't it? So never great, but just indicative, I think, of strike taking on that Purplebricks brand, and it's a bit of a poison chalice.
Yeah, and look, again, it's spent so much time trying really hard to kind of take chunks out of the industry in various forms. And I think when Strike picked it up, its big idea was that it was going to do it for free. So actually you can sell your home for free as long as you buy some of our stuff. And then they very gently dropped that, I think, relatively recently. And then I think they went through another business model change earlier on this month, rather quietly. They dropped some of their terms and conditions. So I think it is, like you say, the kind of death spiral, just kind of, you might also call it sort of twitching corpse in terms of its inability to find the right balance of revenue and service. And it just seems to grind on, in zombie fashion. So yeah, I think it's, as you say, it's a shame for everybody involved. It is a particular shame when it comes to the fact that it is just before Christmas. But it is, an entity that I don't think anybody can be surprised is in the state that it's in. And, the fact that they picked it up for £1, probably goes to show just what the value that's left in the entity really is. So that's some sad news from the industry right now. What else we've got on the blocks? Matt, we've got a story about Moneypenny partnering with Alto. So this, to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised that they hadn't done this already.
So this is more of a deeper integration rather than not doing it before. I think a lot of the CRMs that we deal with in our industry have some form of engagement with leads and sort of passing email leads to come into the CRM and hold them in some form of inquiries or registrations bucket, so to speak. But with the way that certainly Alto have dealt with things over the last 6 months to a year, they brought in a chief revenue officer who's very focused on the channel partnerships and boosting more of those engagements. And I think it's surprising that they're becoming a bit more vocal. We've spoken about Alto and it being spun off into its own business over the course of the last few months, haven't we? And it's this Alto Software Group, ASG, that's Ricardo's heading up there. So seeing more of these relationships coming through, I don't think it's surprising. And sort of seeing Moneypenny, who have always been very good at collaborating where they can, partnering it, also I don't think it's a massive surprise. But as you say, it's always a question of what guise these partnerships are in and how deep it goes to the actual client base, right?
Yeah, and I think everybody wants to kind of partner up. I think that there was what should we call it, a difficult kind of hurdle to overcome for many businesses that used to be in place with Alto, where you kind of had to pay something of the order of £75,000 to play, and that might have been a barrier for many businesses to get involved. But it looks like that's kind of dropped away, right? And actually now it is a partnership more than just a kind of a hostage situation. So yeah, look, I think that there'll be more businesses looking to get involved, and and I think that's great for all the agents that are that use it. It's one of the biggest, isn't it? It's huge in terms of.
It's almost we talked about the other week that Street have launched their voice AI, and this is effectively Moneypenny's voice AI giving Alto that same features and functionalities, right? So you can call in and speak to your Alto data via the Moneypenny AI, and without actually having to speak to a human and ask those questions, and even update your property data directly via that Moneypenny voice AI. So it's, I guess, what it's showing is through partnership, companies are evolving their AI strategy as well, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely right. All right. Next up on our property news block, Harding Green, which is one of the self-employed agencies, has bought up its rival, and it's actually quite it's quite niche, but it's quite quite big. So these guys have got hold of the London broker. Rupert Collingwood runs that, and yeah, now they've got a significant amount, or collectively, quite a significant mover, and that really starts to kind of play some interesting kind of tectonic plates around the self-employed models, right? Where you've got sort of the likes of, obviously, EXP is kind of the runaway. Then you've got TA UK, you've got Harding Green now, you've got Movely and others. How do you see all this playing out?
This is, I know, to start with, I know Rupert and the London broker really well. We've been, from a listing logic point of view, working together for a number of years now, automating their digital ads. So whenever they list a property, it automatically runs a meta campaign across Instagram Reels, Facebook, various other things. But also when they sell a property, that also runs Facebook, Instagram campaigns as well. And they've got 30, 40 brokers, with Harding Green having 60 plus brokers as well. So consolidation there means that the decent three figures of agents across them. And I think what's great here is Harding Green covers nationally, but London Broker actually had a lot of agents or brokers covering the home counties as well as London. So effectively what we've got here is not just a really strong technology stack coming together, but also the focus on the London Broker being the prime central London brand and Harding Green covering the rest of it. And there's some seriously good brokers in that network as well.
Right.
I've worked with a lot of them over the years, so it's good to see some sort of strong businesses starting to form.
Absolutely right. When you say you've worked with them, is this like even more of the Foxtons Mafia?
Yes, yeah, exactly that. I saw your wry smile there.
That's always good. So no, but you're absolutely right. Like really serious, serious players, serious good couple of businesses as well. So yeah, good luck to them, and really interesting to see how that continues to play out over time. All right, let us get to this meat of this particular sandwich, which is our AI and tech news. Okay, so there's been a lot that's been going on, and we are here to digest it all. Let's start with the big one, not necessarily in consecutive order, which is what we talked about before.
Ah,
The big one. It's Google, because it's much better. It's so exciting. Google released their Gemini 3 Pro last week. If you aren't using Gemini 3 Pro, stop, pause this, go and go and get yourself a subscription to it and come back, because it is absolutely amazing. I am let's call it a little bit kind of cynical about a lot of this stuff, and unfairly so, right? Because everything is so amazing right now. Even these tiny incremental moves forwards, you're a little bit like, yeah, it's kind of like 5.1 is fine, but actually this is, I have found this to be fundamentally different, both on the reasoning side, so actually it being able to answer questions and help me to do investigations and research on various things, but also right down to images. Images are insane. And actually, we can't talk about that now because that's the tool of the week anyway, even though I didn't win rock, paper, scissors to see what was going to be the tool of the week. Anyway, so right down to images, everything about this is off the scale. So, Matt, have you tried it?
I have, yes, and I have used it for images as well, even though you're going to talk about that in Tool of the Week.
I know.
And so it's not even Gemini 3 Pro, right? Gemini 3, which dropped, and Pro 3 with the preview, that advanced reasoning model. And what really impressed me from a product and a technology point of view is that it wasn't just here's Gemini 3 or Gemini 3 Pro that you can access directly in the app, but it was rolled out across all of their products, wasn't it, in one go? I think the only one that didn't receive it was Notebook LM, as part of the Gemini 3. So everywhere that they were using Gemini 3 across their platform was updated. But also at the same time, yes, it's that advanced reasoning model, but also they dropped so many other things as well as part of
Yeah,
this. The anti-gravity, the
yeah.
agentic coding,
Tell
it
me about this.
just it didn't mean. Well, exactly. We were talking last week and even the week before about Codex, and we'll come on to Codex because they came out with their. It's been like trading blows, and I think you said
Oh,
last week it's Merry Shipmas, isn't it? And
it's kind of
and there's so much dropping this week that thank gosh it was such a quiet week in property news, because
yeah,
otherwise we'd have no time to talk about all these technology changes. But the anti gravity, which has come along, it's its own IDE that's straight in there. That you got Nano Banana, the updates that came with that, and then on top of that you got Nano Banana Pro that we'll talk into. It really has been a sort of a smash and grab from Google, because really you
yeah.
could argue that 2.5 was still the strongest out there before they even came along with this, and it's just like, yeah, we're winning, why not go and really sort of push it home. A little bit like Liverpool losing to Forest, and then Forest went and scored a third goal at the weekend. That's just really ramming the point home for them, isn't it?
That was rapier digs.
I don't think we have any Liverpool fans listen to this. I know
No,
there's an
right, no.
Aston Villa fan and a West Ham fan and someone
Way
Sports
too
Ipswich.
much stuff on here. So no, listen, I absolutely agree. I think that as you said, 2.5 Pro was really, really, really good, and it is arguable whether ChatGPT 5, which was the previous one, and then they've released ChatGPT 5.1, whether that was equal to it or just a little bit behind it. But with this one, they have as you say, kind of almost just kicked on further and actually made it so that it is going to be so hard to catch them, I think. And what they've done so well is they've knitted together their distribution, like you said, all these different products and services, and just kind of carpet bombed everything through those. And their distribution network is obviously phenomenal with Workspace, with all of the different kind of consumer tools, Chrome, that they are able with YouTube, they're able to kind of get this tech into everywhere. And they've absolutely used that, but it is so good. And we used to, are very kind of cynical about the whole Google kind of plays. But historically they've done Google Bard, which was terrible. They rushed that out when ChatGPT first arrived. They did the Google Images, which they had the kind of black Nazis and things like that. That was terrible. And really, they almost became a kind of punchline to how not to do AI for a long old time. And now, yeah, look, it looks like they've really got their stuff together and are, yeah, in grave danger of being in a position where, yeah, it's going to be really hard for businesses, other competitors to catch up. And also it's kind of the stack as well, which again is kind of your department really, but they've got kind of everything. They've got their own chips, so whereas everybody else is
That was
kind of,
the big one, wasn't it? We nearly missed that.
yeah. So they're TPUs, which are they've made them themselves. They're now actually kind of using them with or selling them on to others. But everybody else is relying on Nvidia, their GPUs and things like that. And there's queues and there's kind of shortages. But Google have just managed to. They don't need to go elsewhere, and that also means they can do it more cheaply because they don't have to pay Nvidia's huge markups. So it just feels like this was almost like a, like I said, a sort of carpet bomb play, which is just like we are absolutely going to just nuke everything and cover everything. And I have to say, I'm hugely impressed because I think it is a really, really top piece of work, top piece of kit, and is well worth everybody out there going and have a play around with.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, that's one of the things that happened last week. There are others. So we also had GPT 5.1 Codex Max. So they're keeping up with the really, really stupid naming conventions. But yes, Matt, this is GPT 5.1 Codex Max, Codex being their coding system, which up until about 3 days ago was the absolute nuts, right?
That's it bounced between the various different ones, didn't it? And we just touched on anti-gravity coming in there as well, and still a bit of a march. And that was on top of Google's CLI that was already in place as well. But Codex Max is come in as their new frontier agentic coding model and replaced, as you say, the 5.1 Codex. I don't know if that Max is a bit like the Max Ridge Walker's crisps, that you get a bit more flavour between the two, or if it's delivering something else. But this is one where you can leave the agents, multiple agents, to be working, and it has a form of, they call it a process called compaction, that brings all your context windows together. And the evaluations and everyone talks about the evals on these things, is that the better performance is absolutely incredible, using 30% fewer reasoning tokens compared to 5.1 codecs, which is just, it's obviously, to put that in context, it's 30% cheaper effectively, right?
Yeah, exactly. And 5.1 codecs wasn't.
And the other one that stands out is it supports Windows natively now as well. So that's the first for these codecs modules.
Yeah, amazing. So the coding side of things is very well catered for, again, suddenly. But obviously, as part of the ChatGPT 5.1, we've got ChatGPT 5.1 Pro, intended to fight Gemini 3. I still use it. I haven't found it to be close, really. But again, that's probably because I'm such a Google fanboy. Suddenly, turns out, having been
Have you swapped your
absolutely.
phone yet, Mal? Have you swapped your
I'm
phone
sorry.
out?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah, no,
swapped
that's coming. Yeah, I've ordered it. I haven't
We can
really.
all tell it's still the old iPhone alarm going off.
Yes, it's like there's my 6 o'clock alarm. So that's all. That is amazing. But then on top of that, we also have Anthropic has dropped a new version of Claude Opus 4.5. So that came out. I'll be honest with you, haven't had time to have a play around with it, but
Well,
it
it was
looks
only
amazing.
yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so it's got new Chrome and Excel integrations. One of the things I find quite amusing about Claude going so hard at Excel. So again, we spoke either last week or the week before about how it's just really good at solving all of the problems you've ever had with Excel that used to hold you up on all sorts of formulae and stuff like that. And now they're doubling down on that. And obviously, Microsoft's Copilot should be doing that. Surely it's like that's.
Well, that's later in the show notes.
Oh, damn it. All right. Sorry. So much is happening. Honestly, the professionalism around here is just really lacking, isn't it? So, yes. So we've got Anthropic's Opus 4.5 doing some amazing things with Chrome and Excel. We've got Grok. They decided that actually probably time to bring out 4.1 because everybody else was getting a bit of attention, and Elon doesn't like everybody else having attention. So 4.1 came out, and to be fair, Grok 4 was a really really good model. It has been superseded by a few more since, but yeah, they are building and continue to build some strong stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised the Grok 5 maybe has a further leap over as well.
But they managed to avoid the controversies that Grok 4 came along with, didn't it? Which is the things like the Nazi chatbot meltdown that we witnessed and reported on, if that's the right thing,
Yeah.
at the time. But this has got some exceptional things in there, like a 2 million token context window, just the amount of obviously knowledge that you can push in there, and also Agent Tools APIs, so that giving you real time access to Twitter data, web search, and remote code execution. So yeah, it was the first one out the blocks, wasn't it? And then Gemini just absolutely put it in the shade, and everyone else has been, I guess, preparing for the fact Gemini was going to drop, and we had Microsoft Ignite as well. So lots of new releases this week. I think it's actually, in terms of updates, upgrades, releases, it's the busiest since December of last year.
Yeah, exactly that. And it is funny because once it's almost like once they hear that somebody's going to go large, they all have to try and like pile on with their point ones and their point one max pros and all that sort of stuff, just to try and make sure that the others don't get a clear run at at all the news items. But yes, Grok, for those that really care, it will still swear at you if you want as well. So that's reassuring. All right. So you want to talk about Microsoft Ignite because they haven't had enough airtime. So, yeah, talk me through what Microsoft have been up to.
Well, it's either Microsoft or Bezos being back, and as we finish off this strongly in this segment, isn't it? But Microsoft have had the Ignite 2025, so they get together, and they've announced some agentic outputs as well, and one which is very much focused on the enterprise, which is basically your agent 365, so grouping together and giving you an admin style view of all the agents you've got deployed within your business effectively. So you've got one place to manage them and oversee them, and collating any agents that you've brought in from other areas. So we talk about orchestration with agentic AI, but this just gives you one place to see everything across your Microsoft estate and any apps that you've installed with agentic capabilities that have got access to your Microsoft data, which is great to see that they're sort of bringing, even though they've sort of done it in a way that sounds sort of backwards and boring in the way that they've done it, just that one single view to allow you to manage them. But also, as you sort of alluded to earlier, they should really have Excel and Word and PowerPoint agents, and then that's exactly what announced. So it's almost like if it hadn't happened, you were sort of foreseeing the future, Mal. But they're now actually in context of Copilot, so you can actually start talking to Copilot in a business chat and developing your PowerPoint slide deck or working on your Excel, but without actually having to dig into Excel. So it's almost a headless state that these sort of Microsoft specific agents are going to be being put out there.
Yeah, and yeah, again, I'm no disrespect to Microsoft and all the amazing things that it's doing, and I do think that obviously they're kind of continuing to catch up a little bit. They were rather hamstrung by putting everything into OpenAI at the start, so they didn't like develop their own sort of models or anything like that. So they're playing catch up now. I'm going to stop my phone from setting the alarm off as well. So they're playing catch up now, and yes, it is something that I think we're going to continue to see. They've got Mustafa Suleiman up at the front, so he's kind of really pushing on, isn't he, and making a real difference. And he's one of the more sensible and sane of all the hype merchants that are out there, leading these various frontier labs. But yes, I think there's still got a bit of catch up, and certainly I think everything I've heard about the Claude version of Excel absolutely smacks Microsoft's versions out of the park for now. You mentioned Big Jeff Bezos. He is back, isn't he? And he wants to be known as Bezos the inventor, apparently. So yeah, he's back as CEO of an AI business.
That's it, because he's not. What was it? 2021. He stepped down as Amazon CEO, and he's not really had a role as such, apart from an investor since then. So he's stepped back up to the plate, and he serves as quite a polar opposite to your man Musk, doesn't he? When he comes to running these businesses, rather than being at the middle and causing chaos everywhere else, he's much more structured when it comes to working with these businesses. So it's going to be interesting what he does, and see how that focus is the companies he's working with, but also like devoting that time to his AI and his rocket ships, really, isn't he?
Yeah. So
what is it, Project Prometheus he's doing now?
Is it? Yeah, I lose track. His Blue Origin is his particular vehicle. But yes, no, there's obviously, yeah, I think it is interesting, isn't he? He's kind of, his quote is something like, "I'm the least retired person in the room" or something. So obviously he's supposed to have his fire back and passion and energy, and he's going to make some amazing things happen. But yeah, I think a lot of these, with the advent of AI, a lot of these people want to get back into, because is it Sergey Brin over at Google? He's supposed to be unretired as well, and back on the shop floor playing around with AI. So yeah, it seems to be putting a few people out of the woodwork. But again,
Bezos's Project Prometheus is basically focused on the robots, and an actual sort of production of machinery is very much where he's targeting. So not sort of AI we necessarily talk about every week, but you obviously do love your robot section, so I'm sure we'll be hearing from Prometheus again in the future weeks.
You know it. All right, we are now moving on from a very fat chat about AI into our tool of the week. So if I wasn't excited about Google and what they've been doing this week, oh my God, go and play with Nano Banana Pro. It is amazing. And what's really, really amazing about it, and again, do it now, is that you can get it to do like really detailed stuff with really detailed lettering. So you can get it to, so as an example of what I was doing like over the weekend, because I'm sad. Basically, we're kind of splitting the country. We've got a sales team, so we're splitting the country up into different areas. And basically, what you can do is, so I was trying to work out, like, actually, how should we split the country up? So we're splitting the country up into two, and basically say, right, okay, we're doing east and west. How can we make the counties equalize each other? So I was using Gemini 3 Pro to actually analyze the kind of the counties and make sure we had the right number of households in each of it. And then we were switching counties in and out. And then it gave me a picture, really accurate picture of Great Britain with the line down the middle and the counties in it. And honestly, that just kind of blew my mind. So that's what I got.
No, well, it's I think the key point that we touched on in the Gemini section as well is that if you go into Gemini and choose create image, it's using Nano Banana Pro in there, isn't it? And even if you don't choose the image in the drop down, but what you are basically asking for is an image, it's like you're going off and using Nano Banana Pro for that. So I've used it for things like taking a load of text and context from meetings that I've held and asked it to create me a whiteboard visualization for doing that, and also for doing things like process maps and even pulling together and for the relocation agent network in a couple of weeks' time some ideas about the day and create an infographic around it. And it's gone off and produced some really impressive sort of distillation of thoughts and documents, and you can upload them, can't you? And I think the other one is it 14 or 15 separate photos you can upload in one go? So if you've got remote workers, you said take these 15 peoples and present them into one consolidated image. So it's holding a lot of information in one go. And as you touched on it, it really has been quite a step change in that respect, hasn't it?
100%. And if you, as an agent, out there thinking about what you can use this for, you chuck in your photos from a particular listing and then chuck in some text, but you've got bullet points, and then say, do a listing in our style. If you trained up on your style, it will do an amazing job. It's just so good at that kind of thing. So just use it, because it is really, really good. And that is our very excitable tool of the week. All right, that is it for this week. We actually got through it, and we got through it in reasonable time. So well done. Look at that. We're growing up. Our
I was going to
podcast
say
is
all the giddiness was expended pre-record.
Yes, that's true as well. So listen, everybody, thank you so much for being with us this week. We will be back again next week, hopefully with a little bit, calmer week where we can just kind of go steadily through some things. But I'm sure that there'll be much more to discuss. Thank you for being there. Matt, thank you also for being there.
Great to see you, Mal. Thanks for everyone for listening.
Yeah, likewise. And we will catch up again with all of you next week. Take care. All the best. Bye.
Thanks all.